Alright, so I think this is a 2014 Mack. Not exactly sure, but yeah, I think it's a 2014. So anyway, I got a couple codes for the intermediate selective catalyst reduction temperature, and I think it was the outlet and the intermediate. So I came up with low or shorted to ground or low source, but I mean, you can see that I'm getting a value here. So the intermediate and the intake are higher than the outlet because obviously you have the catalyst in there, so it's going to restrict the flow, so it's generally higher upstream. Same thing with I was going to say same thing with the DPF filter, but I believe sometimes you can have higher outlets, but I think usually you have a higher inlet than an outlet. But anyway, so let's go back and see what the codes are. Trouble codes. I tried clearing them; they come back pretty much immediately. I also got a throttle code too. Abnormal update rate and abnormal update rate. Those weren't there the first time I checked them, but I keep getting these after treatment 1 SCR intermediate temperature voltage below normal or shorted to low source, and catalyst outlet gas temperature below normal or shorted to low source. So these things are a little difficult to diagnose, but so let's try to give a little bit of an overview. So we come out of the exhaust here. Now I don't believe this has a catalyst upstream like International does, but I'm not exactly sure. I think they have like a pre-DOC, which is a diesel oxidation catalyst. I don't know if this has one inside the exhaust upstream, but I know the Internationals, they got one upstream too. And then they'll have another one down here, the regular DOC. But I don't know if this has it. But anyway, so this is the Cummins engine. I don't know if this is specific to Mack or if this is just a Cummins type of exhaust after treatment setup, which I think it's a Cummins one because I had to get the clamp from Cummins and not from the Mack dealer, because I had to change a clamp out. So I'm pretty sure this is the Cummins after treatment also. So anyway, so it comes down, comes in here to you're going to have a diesel oxidation catalyst, so the DOC is probably going to be the first one, and then you're going to have the DPF filter is going to be a second one. So you're going to have, this is, I believe, a DOC temperature sensor, and then this is going to be the DPF inlet temperature sensor, and then this one over here is going to be your DPF outlet temperature sensor. And then right here is going to be your DPF, or diesel particulate filter differential pressure sensor. So there's going to be one here, and there's going to be one back right there under my finger. So that that sensor detects pressure differentials, so it can tell how clogged the DPF filter is. So obviously my issue isn't up there, it's underneath, because I believe that I had found it. It kind of throws me off because it's throwing the code immediately, but the pressures, or not the pressures, but the temperatures seem like they should be somewhat accurate. I mean, they're higher in the front than the rear. I don't know what they're supposed to be, which is part of the problem. I'm trying to find it, the information, but I'm having difficulty finding it because everything's a secret in the heavy truck market, as well as equipment. So anyway, we come out of the DPF filter, and we 90 down, and then we run forward into the mixing chamber for the SCR where the dosing valve is. These lines here are the DEF fluid lines. This wiring here, believe is for the dosing valve. And then there's this line here is the control for the dosing valve injector. So it's down here. So that's going to be your dosing valve right there for the DEF fluid, and that's the wiring, that's the control. So let's swing under. So I believe this is your mixing chamber where they inject the DEF fluid, and then it comes, it'll come forward and then loop around in up here into the SCR, selective catalyst reduction chamber. So that's where that comes in there. So now we come on the back side of the SCR, which is where my issue is. Now, so you got a couple controllers back here. This is the plug for the wiring that goes into everything, and it controls the temperature module that's in there. And then you have this one here that I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but it goes to probably a NOx sensor or NOx sensor, because the plug wiring comes out of here up and loops around, and it goes to this oxygen sensor looking sensor that's on the outlet right here of the outlet stream. I think it's for detecting the NOx. But I mean, it looks like an oxygen sensor, but I'm not exactly sure. I mean, it might be a temperature sensor too, but I think it's like an O2 sensor for the NOx emissions. So anyway, I don't know why it says it has an inlet temperature sensor, because I did not see one. Maybe it is the same thing as the outlet temperature sensor of the DPF, and they're just using that, and they're giving it two duties, but they're calling it two different things. I'm not exactly sure. I mean, that one in the end there might be the outlet temperature sensor. I'm not exactly sure. I think this one here is the outlet temperature sensor, just because, I mean, obviously it looks like all the temperature sensors. That looks like an O2 sensor up there. And I felt this, like it was saying it was like 140 degrees. This doesn't feel that hot here, but up front here, it feels a lot warmer. So that's why I'm kind of going with that. So I think this is the intermediate one here, and I believe that this one is the inlet one. But anyway, I'm not exactly sure. So this is kind of just an overview. I'm trying to figure all this out as I go too. So I looked up here, and I saw this little kind of nick right there, and that this little piece here is torn as well. So I pulled them down, and we got exposed wiring here. And I pulled this one down, and I got this side torn on both sides as well. So both wires are damaged. So I believe my code issue is from those right there. Now, it's strange because it's still reading kind of a normal type of temperature, I think. So I guess I'll try to separate these a little bit, maybe clean them up, and then I will try to clear the codes, and I'll see if the codes come back once I separate these. And then I could probably tell if this is where the issue is, because it's coming back immediately, but obviously these are touching, so once I separate them I might not have the code come back, and then I'll know that's where my problem is. But you can see up in here it's got like a little module that plugs into. I don't know if these are going to be separate. Yeah, you can clip something pretty good, because it kind of cut into that too. Probably can't see on this camera because it doesn't get very fine detail, but there's definitely like a 45 cut into this right there. So I don't know if you can change these separately, or if I got to change that whole module. I don't know if it needs to be programmed either. So first I'm going to try to separate these and clear the codes and see if it comes back. Alright, so I unplugged the module that goes to the after treatment catalyst reduction temperature sensor. And it still came up with those two codes for the intermediate temperature sensor below and the outlet gas temperature below a shorted to low source. It added these after treatment ones. So basically, these are your two modules under here. I guess I could unplug that and see what code that throws, and then I'll know what that thing is. But so anyway, over here's where I unplugged it. It's kind of a neat little plug. You just pull this yellow thing out and it kind of goes up. So anyway, so I'm thinking my problem is in here. The intermediate temperature and the intake temperature were mirroring each other. When I was looking at the scan tool, the outlet was, no, it was like 20 degrees lower, but the first two were mirroring each other. That's why I kind of thought that maybe there wasn't an intake one, but see, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, this one with the most damage is the one that's back here, and that one was just a little bit lower than the front. So I mean, these obviously, this wiring's all damaged, and it's right at the connect here. I do not think that these are replaceable. I'm pretty sure that this is one whole unit with the temperature sensor. So I believe I'm going to have to change this whole thing to at least repair this wiring, because I mean, it's broken off flush. So I'll have to get a new one of these anyway. I have to see if it needs to be programmed. I don't know if it's just a replacement part or if it needs to be programmed or not. And then we'll see. Alright, so the check engine light is out after I cleared those codes. So I'm pretty sure that the issue is that wiring. So when I go into the module, it says 0 active trouble codes and 0 previously active trouble codes. 1 monitor is okay, 6 monitors are incomplete. So now it says there's no trouble codes. So then I go into the trouble codes, and all of those trouble codes had popped back up. So I think that they stay in the memory somehow, and then it does its own type of check to make sure it passes those monitors or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it says now I've got 5 trouble codes, but when I went into it, it said I had 0 trouble codes. And when I turn the truck on, I mean, you can see right there, the check engine light would be right here, and the check engine light isn't on. So I think that these get retained somehow for it to, because it's all emission stuff. Well, except for the 2 accelerator pedal ones, but I think those set because when I was doing the check, I drove the vehicle over to the a different building while it was checking. So I think because I was pushing on the pedal, it kind of threw it off. It wasn't just checking it, I think, because it was, I don't know exactly, but that wasn't up there until I moved it and I was driving it, and then it popped up. So I'm not exactly sure, but I think that these are just retaining these codes, and they're not active. So that's where I'm at with this. So I'm gonna see about changing that module with those temperature sensors, and I'm hoping that that's the issue. I'm guessing it's the issue just because of the way it is. It's shorted to low source, shorted to low source. I think it's probably just shorted itself out because it was all wet. We were out plowing yesterday and for the last couple of days. So I think he caught something, ripped it out, shorted it out, and then it threw the code. And I know it popped up this morning when he started it, he said, because it does a check, and the check engine light comes on for its check. So I'll shut it off and I'll show you. So you can see the check engine light right there. See? So it does its little check, and it goes out. I think usually it flashes, or the Internationals flash, one of the two. But so I mean, I don't have a check engine light on, so I'm gonna try to tape those up and separate them so they can't touch each other just for now, and see how that goes. And I'm gonna look into the change of the temperature sensors. So this is the part number for the SCR temperature sensor. I asked the guys at the dealership. They said that it does not need to be programmed. So that's what it looks like. I had a little difficulty ordering it because they accidentally sent me the DPF temperature sensor module, and that has 3 probes on it instead of 2. So I had to return and get that because they had a problem viewing the breakdown, because it's Cummins part and they're a Mack dealer, so they had to get the breakdown from Cummins to figure out what it needed. So there's a part for that. I think it's just 2 bolts holding the module on, and then the 2 temperature probes to put it in, and then I guess that would be all that's required from what they say. Alright, so we got some 8mm screws, or bolts, whatever you want to call them. It's going to be 2 down here and 2 up on top. Hopefully I don't have any problems getting these temperature sensors out, because they're stainless and stainless, so it might come out easy as long as they're not torqued too tight. That's 2 for 2. Drop them both. That's weird. I don't know what I did with the other 2. Pull that forward, and then that opens up. Grab a wrench. I believe. So those are 8mm too. There's the screws, bolts, whatever. So these are 17mm. That wasn't bad. Temperature probe uno. That one was a little tighter. Look at the probe number 2. So, obviously one's longer than the other. I think I worry too much about which one goes where. Yeah, wet stuff in the face. A little salt water. All right. So, slide that up. I get a little dry spot down here. It's like an island. I can put stuff. So when I called to ask about this, they said that this is just the replacement part. It doesn't need to be programmed. So hopefully they're correct, and it doesn't. But I don't have the ability to program it, unless it's in that Alto. But I doubt it. Tight is with these, some plastic. Alright, you get a lot of vibration on this type of stuff, so I don't want to loosen it up and falling off and rattling around because I don't get under here every single day. And I could probably do some damage pretty quickly. So I wouldn't recommend torquing the crap out of them, because being that it's all stainless, you don't want it to like gall and seize itself in there and just... So that's in. Tight. Plugged in up here. Yep. I have to try to get these coolant lines are just replaced, coated with something. Maybe I'll put some fluid for. I tried putting some. It's like a penetrating grease. It stiffens up into a grease after you spray it. Tried spraying. I sprayed them with that yesterday, but you know I could tell that these are going to be a problem, because I mean it went out just today salting. Well, I guess last night too. But I mean, one day of salting and they're already caked with salt. It's just gonna have the same thing happen again. So I gotta try to coat them with something. We use that New Hampshire oil undercoating, or NH oil, on the trucks. So I mean, I'll probably get some of that in a spray can or something. We pretty much had all the trucks done with that stuff. It's messy. I mean, that's all of it right there. It's just stuff that's coming off from that. So it's pretty messy to work with after it's on, but it's supposed to work. So I think I'll probably spray some of that on there, because I don't want to have to change them again anytime soon. Sure, by the time I gotta change them again, they won't make them anymore, and you'll have to fabricate your own. And voila, all changed. So this is how I attempted to fix it the first time. I just held the wires apart, and I squirted some silicone in there between them to keep them separated, but it wasn't on there very good there. I bet it just filled up with water and then kind of shorted out again, because that's what it was saying. It was coming up with a shorted code. So that's what the issue was. I I mean, something obviously came by and grazed them and tore all the wiring. I mean, it could have been snow plowing, because you get a lot of snow coming up under here, or a stick or something. I mean, it happens. But anyway, that's that. So if it helps you out, great. If it was entertaining, awesome. If I did something wrong, let me know what I did wrong, and I thank you, and have a nice day.